Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Squared Circle Podcast by your host, Marie Shadows. Today, we will go over night 2 of the New Japan Cup. This happened on March 9th, 2025. We're going to go over all of the matches. I'm going to give my commentary and my thoughts and see where we are in the New Japan Cup tournament for 2025. As a reminder, the New Japan Cup tournament is a single elimination tournament style. And also, as a reminder, I will not be going over any of the undercard or the multi-man tag matches right before the New Japan Cup matches. So it's just New Japan Cup matches. So let's jump in with match number 1. Match number 1 had Bolton Oleg versus Badluck Fale. You would think that Badluck Fale was out of the company, but he has been over at New Zealand developing his own side of Bullet Club, where he named it Bullet Club Rogue. And those are the guys that he has under his wing, that he is training, that some are from his school that's over in New Zealand, that is also affiliated with New Japan. So it's also a New Japan dojo. And those guys have been wrestling for New Japan Tamashii, which you could watch all those matches for free on YouTube. Eventually, I'll get around to it. But of course, if I do watch anything that is New Japan related, I do have to put it behind a paywall because New Japan will strike me down, and I don't want all of my hard work to be struck down just because I want to give New Japan a platform and talk about their wrestlers and let Americans and other people around the world that watch and listen to my content on a daily basis. I want to give everybody a spotlight, but New Japan Pro Wrestling, because of their strict copyright rules and their distributors, are all like, no, we're going to strike you down. They need to change that, and they need to understand that the more eyes that they get on the wrestlers, the better it is. This is why I say it's very important to check the description boxes and also the comment section so that way you can keep in touch with everything that I do and all the wrestling that I try to go over and have a tape study chatter with. This is why I say it's important to click on those links and sign up to anything that you have yet to sign up just so that way you can stay in touch. It is free for staying in touch with me. This is why if you head over to marieshadows.substack.com and sign up for free, we could definitely stay in touch and you will know if I'm going to be doing a tape study chatter review of a New Japan Tamashii show or just a get together for live streaming that may or may not be unlisted. So you have the actual link to join the live stream behind the scenes. Because guess what? We are going to be in the YouTube Partner Program very, very soon. So I really highly suggest that you end up either subscribing to the YouTube and pay attention to the YouTube commentary posts. I should say YouTube community post instead of commentary post, but it's still like a commentary thing. Or sign up to the free newsletter, marieshadows.substack.com. Now, I also have a Discord as well that I also keep everybody up to date. But those are the easiest ways to keep in contact with me so that way we can review some New Japan Pro Wrestling on my channels. So yes, Badluck Fale has been in New Zealand for the majority of the time. He is still the OG of Bullet Club. He is still part of Bullet Club. He is just training his own little side Bullet Club Rogue. They have yet to come over to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think maybe one of the guys from there, which I don't remember his name, I'm so sorry, went over to New Japan for a tiny bit of a tour and then that was it. But the rest of the guys that are under his wing has yet to really show up in New Japan and really be part of the roster. And I think that by this time, just send them over and see how well they do with the fans and how well they travel and give them a spot because New Japan Pro Wrestling needs to fill up the gaps that AEW has definitely taken from them. And New Japan is struggling to sort of recover and put into place the people that need to be there. So Badluck Fale is fighting Bolton Oleg. Bolton Oleg was a young lion. He graduated. Now he gets to wear whatever he wants for his gear, and they nicknamed him Bars. And apparently New Japan Pro Wrestling did not like the fact that I used a GIF, which is just a picture that is on loop, along with the reaction of people saying bars. And so I woke up with a DMCA strike and I got my account back. But still, it's like New Japan. I'm questioning, why are we calling Bolton Oleg bars? How do you market that? How do you tell fans, oh yeah, you should definitely buy this guy's merch, and on the merch is going to say bars? Or it's going to have a picture of one of the animals from his country and have bars on the bottom, or Bolton Oleg as like the symbol. And if you're not telling the fans who this guy is, why should they end up investing their time, their energy, their money into Bolton Oleg? You know, it's also a little bit of annoying to see on the timeline. I no longer see on the Twitter timeline, though, that people are hyping up Bolton Oleg as the next big thing and like strap a rocket to him because he's going to be the next big thing in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I'm like, he's just another big guy. He's just another big guy with the muscle, with the strength, has no other personality. He comes in, wrestles, and leaves. And while, yes, that could be a very good wrestler, and yes, we have seen that character, that gimmick before in professional wrestling, but at least you can tell this guy has a intimidation factor and also a personality to go with the, he shows up to work, he goes to the ring, he beats some asses, he goes back to the locker room, he takes a shower probably and like gets his bag together and leaves. He comes in, gets his money, beats up people and leave. We've seen that before and it works. But when Bolton Oleg is doing that and there's no other personality around him, there's no other thing that happens, it's sort of like, why is he the next big thing when he needs a little bit more personality? When he comes out, the fans are not even cheering for him. There's no sound, there's no pop for when he comes out. So I have no idea what's this fascination with that every big guy needs to have the rocket strapped to them, even if they don't have a personality and you just fall in love with their wrestling. Wrestling is part of it, but they need to have a personality in order to create wonderful feuds with other people that have a very big and loud personality. And so we have just a test of strength with the shoulder tackles that begins this match. We have Oleg that pushes Fale to the outside. Fale throws Oleg into the barricade. We have a big man fight on our hands. Oleg manages to slam Fale, goes for a cover, kicks out, and then Bolton Oleg does the DVD, which is the Death Valley Driver, covers Badluck Fale and picks up the victory and advances to the next round of the New Japan Cup. What was the point of this match? What was it? Really? We could have did two other new wrestlers that come into New Japan to have a really good match other than this. Our next match, the second match, is the Great-O-Khan versus ELP, El Phantasmo. We start off with amateur wrestling. We start off with a backbreaker to ELP as well. Some leg scissors chokehold, which I need to remember what the name of this move is. That's on ELP. It gets switched to an arm bar and then we get a rope break. The Great-O-Khan ends up throwing elbows to the back of ELP's head, multiple elbows. We get a Hurricanrana to Great-O-Khan from ELP and a suicide dive to the Great-O-Khan from ELP. We get a power driver, shoulder breaker kind of move to ELP by the Great-O-Khan. It felt like the Great-O-Khan this time around has business with everybody. His strikes and what he does feels like you owe me money, but on maybe like a scale of 7. We have a bunch of near falls. We have some close combat, which is just basically some kicks. And then I believe the Great Khan does his sheep killer / dominator, but that gets countered into a DDT by ELP, and the Great Khan kicks out of that. Until we finally get the Eliminator, which is the Great Khan's finisher, a cover 1, 2, 3, and the Great Khan advances in the New Japan Cup. And by the way, ELP is still the NJPW World Title Champion. And as a reminder, the NJPW World TV title are basically title matches that are under 15 minutes. And this is probably to help with NJPW World subscriptions. And by the way, I get no kickback from this. I get no affiliate money from this, no commission, no nothing. I just generally like talking about New Japan and New Japan World. And if you have not gotten a subscription yet, please go get a subscription. It is 999 yen, which is close to $9 a month. If you guys want to, it'll be helpful for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Also, let your voice be heard that you may not like the whole New Japan and AEW partnership because it is still one-sided. And support New Japan when you can by getting your subscription if you want to. It's up to you. But I still believe in the company, and I still believe that there might be a glimmer of hope on the horizon that they finally break away from AEW and not be the damn feeder company to AEW and the damn lapdogs to AEW. Our third match is Ishii versus Drilla Maloney. First of all, congratulations to Drilla for being in the New Japan Cup. That was a very smart choice, and it is kind of cool to see him there. To fight against Ishii, this match should have ended a long time ago. But we kept going as if this was a championship title match where there had to be false finishes and people kicking out at the count of one. And both of them did this, shaking their head, hulking up. And the crowd was into it. Don't get me wrong. I love when the Japanese crowd is into it, into the story, because the Japanese crowd still appreciates Ishii, even though, in my opinion, and what I believe, that AEW overexposed Ishii. So now I really can't enjoy his New Japan work because AEW overexposed him and had him losing every single time on Collision, almost getting paralyzed by Kyle Fletcher during that one taping of either Rampage or Collision, and then maybe sometimes seeing him on AEW Dynamite, which I doubt. But again, the overexposure is what's making me not really enjoy an Ishii match when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Drilla Maloney has improved by leaps and bounds ever since stepping foot into New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is a wrestler that I would have on my roster as one of the guys that I would rely on because he has improved so much and he's making waves. People love him, people connect with him, and he's really over with the Japanese crowd. And he brings a unique intensity that we haven't seen in New Japan Pro Wrestling for a damn good while. And he has a wonderful chemistry with Clark Connors, and he has a wonderful chemistry with Gabe Kidd, and he has a wonderful chemistry with David Finlay. And he is a hard-working wrestler that deserves it all and deserves his flowers. Now, for this match, I understand that it is supposed to be the Stone Pitbull, who is the guy that never wavers and absorbs all the attacks, against Drilla Maloney, who just defeated Shingo. So I guess, can we call him the Dragon Killer just for setting this up into our minds to think about it this way? That these are two big behemoths that are going after each other in this fight. So neither one of them are going to back down. It was definitely hard hitting. There were a lot of lariats being thrown. There was a lot of let me test your strength kind of deal. But if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I am getting really tired of the let's test your strength, young Padawan, which I think I got that right. By the way, I'm really not a huge Star Wars fan, but I do know that I could probably use some of that stuff in here that makes sense, you know? Let me test your strength, young warrior. That's a better way for me to put it. Do not get mad at me. Do not do that, because I'm not a big fan of Star Wars. I am a big fan of Star Trek, just not Star Trek Discovery, and that will be just the side tangent there for that. But I am getting tired of the whole Let me test your strength, young warrior, against the veteran of New Japan Pro Wrestling for this roster, even though Ishii has been overexposed on AEW so many times. There were just some times where Drilla would come out with a really huge attack, meaning like maybe a power driver. Let me see what I have in my notes. Most of my notes is covered with Maloney doing a power driver. There are exchanges of lariats. There's a spear that Maloney does to Ishii. There is headbutts done to each other. There's a sliding headbutt done to Drilla via Ishii. There was the snake eyes by Drilla to Ishii, and then Ishii comes in with a lariat. You're supposed to sell the fact that you are concussed a little bit, Ishii, but I understand that you have a really thick head. You don't have a neck, so I guess it just passes. But sell a little bit for Drilla so that way he can continue on with the next sequence. So after Ishii does the lariat to Drilla because he somehow gets his whereabouts, there's the sliding clothesline, and Ishii goes for the cover on Drilla, and Drilla kicks out. At the end of all of this, after kicking out at the 1 count and hawking up, we get the Drilla Killer by Drilla Maloney on Ishii, 1, 2, 3, and Drilla wins and advances to the New Japan Cup. Now, I am happy that Drilla Maloney advances to the New Japan Cup. I just feel like this match could have ended at least 10 minutes early, at least 10, because it did not need to go any further at all, just to show how much strength and power that these guys have, how much stamina and endurance these guys have. Like, it didn't need that. It really didn't. Drilla has already proven himself. He's been in the ring with the best, and being in the ring with Ishii is also proving that he could be in there with the best and hold his own. But at this moment, they have the rocket strapped to Drilla Maloney, which is a good thing. And yeah, it could have just ended 10 minutes early. But I am still happy that Drilla Maloney advances in the New Japan Cup. Let's talk about the main event of the New Japan Cup, March 9th, 2025. The main event had Naito versus Callan Newman. Now, I am going to prepare people because, in my opinion and what I have been seeing, to me, Callan Newman has not improved ever since he has been at New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he was recommended by Will Ospreay, who was his mentor and slight trainer back in the UK, the Indies. I forget exactly where, but the UK is where I'm gonna like throw the dart at. It was back there in the UK. And ever since he came to New Japan Pro Wrestling, there has not been any improvement. Now, as I continue to talk about this match and talk about the kind of wrestler that Callan Newman is, again, I don't know him personally, so please do not take it personal. It is for improvement that I talk about what things are not working, what is not clicking, and ideas and ways to make it better for you as a professional wrestler. Because in my opinion, listening to Ospreay as him being your mentor sort of set you up on the wrong path. And now that might end up causing you to block me. I have no idea, because it's the same way that I found out Kyle Fletcher had blocked me on Twitter. And it's like, I want the best for all the wrestlers out there to do well in their career. I am like their cheerleader. Of course, I'll say things that you may not like, but I'm always open to a conversation. My DMs are always open for that. If you have a problem with what I said, or you need clarification of what I said, if you are a wrestler, if you are a fan listening to this, stop trying to come head to head to me when you think you know something when you don't know something. But if you are a wrestler and you want to improve, and my whole entire podcast and the shows that I create, like Tape Study Chatter, it's all about improving. I'm here to have that conversation with you, and I'll do it for free, because I believe that exchanges of ideas and conversations, whether we agree or disagree, or we do agree and then also disagree, should be free. Because as much as you want to learn from me and my stance and why I say the things that I say and how I think about the things that I think about and then say it out to the world, it's the same way that I want to understand your way of thinking, your perspective, your opinion. So conversations are good to not only get to know one another on a client level, to put it that way, so that way nobody has their mind in the gutter. Conversation is just good for conversation for the sake of it. So I have reviewed Callum Newman's matches in the past for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And ever since then, it still has not improved. I have no idea who's teaching him, what they're telling him. But dude, you're in New Japan Pro Wrestling. While yes, you do know how to wrestle, you need to also learn that it is chess and not checkers. And you can't always return to the default of what you're used to when you're in a new company. And I will say this many, 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 many times, and I hope that wrestlers listen to this far in the podcast, that you have to understand the markets of professional wrestling. There are different markets in professional wrestling. You have the American markets, you have the UK markets, you have everywhere else of the wrestling markets, which include places like Italy and the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, anywhere else that's starting to pop up little wrestling promotions that are not strictly just England. So all of the other international countries. You also have to understand the Canadian wrestling market and also the Japanese wrestling market. Each fandom is different in terms of their knowledge of what they know about professional wrestling, meaning that do they know what a babyface and a heel consist of? Can they identify a babyface and a heel? And can they tell their friend, yeah, wrestler A is the babyface because of X, Y, and Z. This is their journey, versus wrestler B, who is the heel, and the heel, being wrestler B, attacked wrestler A and destroyed something, something, something in their career, in their journey. And this is why we have this match today. So basically, you have to understand the fan bases. You have to understand how the fan bases also spend their money on you as well. How marketable are you? Are you always on social media? Are you engaging with the fans? Even though sometimes you do get troll accounts, you do get people that go out and buy bots in order to create a negative effect. And that will end up hurting your mental state at some point or another. But you can't control what you react to, and you can't control what you see on your own timeline. But the main point is that, are you really paying attention of how to market yourself, where wrestling is very popular, the fandoms? Are you understanding all of this? Because New Japan Pro Wrestling is not going to do that for you. WWE will do that for you. WWE is already built, and they have everything set in place to where their media teams take over, and you get to see who's over, who's getting over, who's going to go to this meet and greet, who's going to be at this media outlet talking about wrestling on a grander scale, on like a talk show, a radio host. And as I say all of this, these are the skills that you should be working towards, not only just wrestling and building your body and your diet and all that stuff that comes with being a wrestler. You also have to be the professional part too, where you are marketing for yourself, you're talking for yourself, you're letting the fans know a little bit about your personality, because I still have no idea who Callum Newman is. And that's the same thing what I said before. If you go back into my back catalog of the Squared Cirlce Podcast, I know nothing of Callum Newman. All I know is that he is the Prince of Pace, which to me, this is why you don't ask Ospreay for ideas, because Ospreay gave him that because he's very, very fast. Callum Newman is very, very fast. And it's like, he's the Prince of Pace, okay? But like, to me, he's like the Flash. And I've said it before on the timeline that even the Flash ends up tripping sometimes. So you can't always rely on the speed that you have, because somebody is going to trip you, mess you up, and now they get to control the pace of the match. all puns intended. That's exactly what happened during Naito versus Callan Newman, and it's gonna be the same thing every single time that Callan Newman goes out there. Let me paint this picture for you. Callan Newman's music hits, and when I was listening to it by watching this match on New Japan World, it sounded like a variation of Power Rangers. And that should definitely hype you up if you're a 90s baby and you grew up with the Power Rangers. I grew up with the Power Rangers. It's one of my favorite shows. And so act like a Power Ranger. You're already dressed in United Empire gear. United Empire is sort of like Power Rangers anyway, if they want to come and protect New Japan Pro Wrestling from Bullet Club, why not, right? Like, you look like the part where you can be a Power Ranger yourself, Callum, so play the part, and that music is very hype, but you just come out in your coat, you have your head down, you're just focusing, you're walking, you're not even trying to interact with the fans that are sitting by the aisle side, at least a little bit. Interact with them a little bit. I know from previous interviews he said that he's very, very shy, but you got to break out of that, man. Like, I don't know what wrestler is shy. Wrestlers tend to have a big personality when the camera turns on, and then a calmer personality when the camera is not off. Some wrestlers tend to be very good people. Other wrestlers tend to be very assholes and dicks as well, and you get a plethora of different types of personalities, and it's like, I still don't know the personality of Callum. So after he goes down to the ring, he gets into the ring, he does his little pose, he takes the coat off, and then that's about it. Again, no pop, no sound from the crowd, no reaction from the crowd. And then here comes Naito. Obviously, Naito is very beloved, and Naito has been there for years and years and years, and he's a veteran. And if you can work with Naito, then you got it made. But again, it just shows that in this match, it seems a little bit too overthinking on Callum's part for some time. And then Naito has to control the match and slow it down, and then it doesn't look like this could be a very good match to show others and be like, this is what Callum Newman is about. Because I can explain that Callum is very fast. And when he runs the rope back and forth in order to do a big boot to Naito, which he allows, it looks off. It's not like Braun Breaker whenever he runs the ropes, and you know that when he runs the ropes, he's going to hit you with everything and you might not come back next week. When it's Callum, it's just like, all right, you're running the ropes. All right, cool, you're fast. All right, I get it. Like, you're the Flash. There's nothing that can have a fan be like, oh shit, I want to see it. Oh shit, I want to see that guy fly into row 3 of the venue that they're at, because of the way that Callum runs the ropes and the way that there's an intensity behind it. It's just the fact that they told him that he's the Prince of Pace. They told him that he's good, but he definitely does a lot of things that Ospreay does, and I'm like, you gotta cut that out. New Japan Pro Wrestling is not the Indies. New Japan Pro Wrestling is on a different level, the same way that Ospreay used to say it when he was good New Japan Pro Wrestling Will Ospreay. AEW Will Ospreay, I have no idea what happened. No idea. Testing? Anyway, let's talk about the selling in the match. So, Callan Newman is coming back off of a knee injury. Luckily, he did not need surgery or anything like that. He just needed a couple weeks home to recover. And so as he's recovering, he is doing an interview talking about his master plan for beating Naito, and he's going to use his speed and everything. And then when it gets to the match, obviously, Naito's like, slow that shit down, kid. And that's exactly what happens. Naito slows down the match. It is his type of match now. And I've explained on multiple occasions that there are certain unique things that veteran wrestlers do that control the match. If you have wrist control, the wrestler has to follow you. If you're Naito and you clip them at the wings, per se, as a metaphor, the match is yours. So Naito is working on Callan Newman's bad knee, the one that he just fully rehabbed and came back, and Callum is selling it for the most part. But somewhere along the line, he forgets to sell his knee and he automatically gets up to go to the ropes and do a springboard cutter, similar to what Osprey does for his cutters. And I'm like, bro, you have to sell the knee. How are you having this much energy to forget that your knee is hurting you? I understand that adrenaline, when it pumps through someone's body, it is one hell of a drug. I totally understand that. But you are still supposed to be selling your knee. So, like, why and how are you able to do a springboard cutter when you know that your knee can give out? And if you know that the ropes are bouncy, even though they are also tight, so that way they're not too loose to where you can really get hurt. If you know this, then your knee should not have enough strength to hold your body up and do the move, if that makes sense. Your mind is supposed to change because now your knee is hurting you, and at any time your knee can fail you. There's times where Naito will just throw him into the corner as an Irish whip, and obviously his knee will buckle, so he'll go down to one leg and then they'll continue the sequence to something else. And that's logical, it is, but it's not logical to do whatever Naito wants to do. You allow it to happen, but then the moment you get an opening, you want to go run on your bad knee, not even try to hop or try to do an alternative move, but run on your bad knee to do the springboard cutter because you have to get your shit in. This is the difference between playing chess and playing checkers. Continuing to do the same moves that everybody has seen done in professional wrestling, because Osprey does the same shit, you're doing the same shit, and it's like it's not getting you over. It is not getting you over. And so Naito is very nice, by the way. He's very nice. But stuff like that, the selling doesn't come across as if like I'm supposed to feel bad. Now, I will say to Naito's credit, because as Naito is really working on Callum's knee and stomping on it and all this kind of stuff, he actually created a reaction for Callum Newman, because everybody who has read that interview knows that Callum Newman got hurt, and Japanese fans are very sympathetic towards wrestlers that get hurt and they come back and they wrestle for them. And so the crowd was actually cheering for Callum because Naito over here was working on Callum's bad knee. Now, that lasted about 15 minutes of the match. And that showed that Naito could get Callum Newman over because the women were really cheering Callum on, and Callum kept fighting and didn't really interact with the babyface pop. And it's like, you got to stop being a wrestler. Now, as I say that, I don't mean to like stop your career. I mean, stop thinking of wrestle, wrestle, wrestle. And if you hear the crowd and if you hear some interaction, take some time to yourself. And I know that every match has a 20-minute time limit and you could only do so much, and I totally get that. But you'll get more out of it and you'll grow more when you listen to the crowd, when you want to go roll out the ring and just stand outside for a little bit and really nod your head and really have that thank you guys. Thank you for giving me the energy to continue, as you are selling the bad knee that you came back from injury with. A rule in wrestling is that they say never have your head down. If you have your head down, how are you going to communicate the emotions and the feelings from your face to the audience when the audience is giving you that energy and support because they know about your bad knee and that you came back from healing that knee? So they want to give you that support, that extra rush of an adrenaline shot, so that way you could keep going and maybe get an upset against Naito. But no improvement has been made. And again, I need to reiterate this. This is not a personal attack on you if you happen to listen to this podcast episode where I'm going over what could be fixed. And what could be fixed is that stop thinking like a wrestler where you just have to get in your shit. You have to think about the next steps, the next choreographed spot. I need to get this cutter in. Do you need to get the cutter in? Can you do something different to throw Naito off of his game? Because Naito already has a game plan, and his game plan is going to be the same throughout all the years he's been there. However, he does switch it up when his opponent does something different. But if you, as Callum Newman, the Prince of Pace, and I'm talking about your wrestling side, not even you personally, because I don't know you personally, but if we're talking about the Prince of Pace, who is so speedy, and all you do is your speed, and you have to get in some of Ospreay's move, everyone is going to know how to counter you. Everyone is going to know how to beat you. This is why I say that wrestling is a chess game and not a checkers game. It was very evident with Naito, with the way that he stopped your speed and you went to the pace of the way that he wrestles. And still, in the end, you got beaten because Naito comes in with Destino and/or Valencia, cover you 1, 2, 3, and Naito advances to the next round of the New Japan Cup. And so it's one of those things of like, you gotta just change up how you approach being a wrestler. If you are shy and you're wrestling, I just don't know how that works. I really don't. I understand that you could just learn the moves, the fundamentals, go in there, you're a wrestler, you got the gear, you know how to bump, which is amazing. That makes you a professional. Maybe semi-professional, because you still have to learn how to do the other things on your own so that you could create a buzz around your name and around the stuff that you do. And I know that New Japan Pro Wrestling is very strict about how you promote yourself, but I think that if you just end up typing and talking on Twitter and using Twitter Spaces and even using IG to go live, they don't stop you with any of that. Like, you can do that to connect with people. You can do that to connect with fans. I know fans, it depends on who you get, but everyone is different. But for the most part, we want to see wrestlers succeed. I want to see wrestlers succeed. And this is just me giving some advice, giving some tough love. So let's just go down a bullet list, or even a number list, not even a bullet list. Number 1, pick your head up, please. Let the people see your face, because you do have an adorable face that says baby face on it, because you do have a baby face. So keep your head up. And number 2, while you're walking down the aisle, hold out your hand. Those kids and the women there would love to give you a high five as you're walking down the aisle. Throw up the United Empire sign and just do it with the fans, and, smash the signs together, and they'll feel more at home. They'll feel more connected to you. Don't just walk down the aisle and be like, I'm a wrestler, because then we wouldn't be calling you the Prince of Pace. We wouldn't be trying to create a character that could start having a personality. Number 3, have a personality. Who is Callum Newman? This is why sometimes I don't like when wrestlers use their real name. They should come up with something that could be half original and half real name. So if you really enjoy your first name, Callum, you could have your last name to be something else that's not even your real last name, I always say this, that wrestlers need to have some type of guard up, some type of wall built up for themselves, because this is a very, very personal thing to have your real name out there, because you don't know what asshole out there can do the most heinous shit to your name, to your reputation, to you as a person. So when you put up a wall that basically will tell the fan, this is as much access I'm going to allow you to have, it makes life that much better, that much smoother. And just in case, if you want to be by yourself with your own thoughts and you don't want to be bothered in the hotel and nobody's going to know what hotel you're going to be at, they're not going to know your real name. They're not going to harass you. This is why it is very important for wrestlers to come up with some type of character name, or a mixed match of a real name plus whatever fake stage name that they want to have. There's a reason why a lot of celebrities go with a really good stage name and you would never know their real name until maybe some shit happens and like the police need to put out their real name. But the point still stands that you can protect yourself when you create a character. That doesn't mean that you can't be your real self. You could still create this character, be your real self, but also like fictionalize it. Fictionalize your real self. And it's okay. I don't know why we have this new wave of thinking of like, in order for you to be authentically you, you need to tell everybody in the whole world, this is my real name, this is my real date of birth, this is my real whatever you want to add for like the third line, maybe the address, I'm an open book, rather than putting up a guard, because again, we live amongst people that can do stupid ass shit. So to protect yourself, get a stage name. So as I say all of that, I still want Callum Newman to at least create some type of character lore for Callum Newman if he's going to continue to go with his real name. What does Callum Newman like? What are his motivations? What are some obstacles he had to get over? And it wasn't just like, oh my God, you're never going to be a wrestler. More tangible stuff that we can connect with, because a lot of us can connect with wrestlers that have been bullied, even though that's a tired one. I've been bullied too at times growing up. There's crossover between most things. If it helps, there are character sheets that writers like myself use to create characters, and there's a bunch of questions on there that could be answered, and then this could turn into a lore for Callum Newman. All I want to see is personality. I want to see growth. I want to understand the character and who I am supporting that's part of the United Empire, a team that I like and a team that I support. It's just, who is Callum Newman? And not just the Prince of Pace, which, again, I know that you are very, very fast. And I know that the Flash is copyrighted, and probably the term speedster is copyrighted. But again, every single superhero has a major flaw. Every single superhero trips, and every single superhero is at least defeated, except for Deadpool. Maybe not. But the point is that number 4, which would be, stop trying to be Osprey. Stop trying to emulate his moves. Stop trying to do the cutter with the springboard, because everybody does it, especially on the indies over here in America. They do that nonstop. Be you. Find out who you are, what makes Callum Newman, and what wrestling moves can you show us that is different from Will Ospreay, that is different from all your United Empire members, and what is different from all the other members of the New Japan roster. Honestly, want everyone to get better. I honestly want Callum Newman to get better. And I think that they put him into the deep end of this pool, and he's just swimming, but not swimming his best. When you know that somebody can really do better than what they are shown. And while, yes, we could probably say that, well, Naito's a veteran and he could dictate the match, and if they don't want to do something, it could just be an ego trip, and this is why it makes Callum Newman look bad. That could be a conversation to be had, but at the same time, he's been there for a while. He can come up with his own thing. He can also have conversations with the veteran wrestlers, the old guard, to come up with something different, something new. I would think that as long as it makes sense and you're having a conversation with Naito will be down for it. I don't think that Naito has ever been a true traditionalist when it comes to a wrestling match and some of the wrestling ideologies that are still floating around in New Japan Pro Wrestling of how to have a formula type of New Japan match. So again, all I want to do is just help professional wrestlers. Just know that I tell it like it is. It is tough love. Apologies if you don't understand tough love or never had tough love. It's just how I grew up in New York City. That's all it is. And again, my DMs are open if Callum ever wants to have a conversation with me. At least with a conversation that could be understanding and issues can be resolved and new ways of thinking, new perspectives, different opinions, and understanding each other from a fundamental level of we may always agree, we may not always agree, we can agree to disagree, but we do have some common ground as we have a conversation about it. Or a conversation about anything. That's how you get to know somebody. That's how you get to understand their character and what they represent and who they are. And obviously, having a conversation with me about wrestling and trying to improve, I am not trying to change nobody. I will not try to change you at all. I will try to help you realize different things and put things into a different perspective and try to be neutral. But sometimes I will be like, oh no, maybe it should be just this way because this is a better reaction. And until this breaks, you don't really need to fix it. But for the most part, having a conversation to exchange ideas can help us both grow at the same time, because then I am more privy to things that go on within your head. And if I can sort of balance that and show you a different way and a different way of thinking and how to approach something, wouldn't that make you such a better person? It will help you grow. So again, my DMs are open. I have no problem talking to professional wrestlers. And if they want to get some help for tape study series where I could watch their matches, break it down, and give them ideas and be like, hey, this was good. Make sure to be careful on this. I like this story. I like this. I like that. I like that promo. I really felt that energy. I connected there. I could definitely be your coach if you want me to. And if you're wondering about my credentials, I am a former WWE employee, even though I worked on the WWE network. So I do have a lot of experience sitting in a cubicle for 8 hours watching wrestling and making sure that the SEO was the strongest on the WWE network. So I watched all WWE programming, meaning from WWE, SmackDown, Raw, NXT. And if you go to the link down in the description on my fourth wall, it has all of my pictures, and there's a picture of all the NXT shows, SmackDown shows, and some Raw shows that I worked on for the WWE network. I also am media press, and then I got promoted, I guess, to talent help, talent relations. I was a backstage helper for MOW, and that was fantastic. I have a podcast episode dedicated to talking about me being a talent help for MOW's One Shot that happened right here in New York City at the Melrose Ballroom. I also work on the indies. I have attended many seminars as well back in the day on the indies. I can do ring crew, and I can definitely do commentary. I have footprints in Titan Championship Wrestling, in Goddesses of War Wrestling, which is adjacent to Titan Championship Wrestling. I also have various vlogs of what I did on the indies as well to give wrestlers a spotlight. And I also interviewed various New Japan wrestlers and indie stars on my podcast as well. But again, any type of credentials are all on my fourth wall page and also on my regular website as well. All of those links will be down in the description below. And again, my DMs are always open on Twitter at Marie_Shadows. Or if you want to contact me by email, Squared Cirlce Podcast at Outlook.com. And if anybody is excited about what they just heard and if they want my help, I do have a one-time payment and a membership for the tape study series, and you could become my client. If you want to become my client, I will be your biggest cheerleader, your biggest coach. So if that's something that you want to do for the future of your wrestling career, I have one-on-one consultations. It's up to you, and it's up to everyone else that is listening. But I just wanted to put that out there as I am available to you. If all you want to do is just shoot me a message, by all means, Twitter is probably the best place to get in contact with me. If not, you could definitely go the email route. Like I said, Squared Cirlce Podcast at Outlook.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, all I want is the best for professional wrestlers. So here is where we stand right now for the New Japan Cup of March 9th, 2025. We stand with Bolton Oleg becoming the winner and advancing. The Great Okan becoming the winner and advancing. Drilla Maloney becoming the winner and advancing. And Naito becoming the winner and advancing. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode of the Squared Circle Podcast where I break down March 9th, 2025 New Japan Cup, make sure to hit that subscribe button and also that like button. Leave your comment down below on youtube.com/Squared Circle Podcast. If you are on the Spotify side of things and all major audio podcasting platforms, search Square Circle Podcast by Marie Shadows. If you need to add that, make sure that you are following the Spotify channel because you never want to miss a video and or audio and or interview from me, yours truly, Marie Shadows. That also goes for youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. Over on my wrestling newsletter, that is where you get extra content in addition to these audio podcasts and the live streams and all of that. Head over to marieshadows.substack.com. It is free to sign up. And the same offer for tape study is offered via Substack because I could put that behind a paywall and not worry. And I will definitely love to have you on as me coaching you. But yes, marieshadows.substack.com. Also, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this podcast around the world. We are 6 seasons in, and I am so proud of everybody else. I am also so close to YouTube partner program where I need 59 hours left and then we're going to be together. We did this together. We are in the partnership together very, very, very soon. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all of the support, all of the love and the hugs and everything. Like, I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting everything that I do underneath the big ass project of the Square Circle Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to an episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see ya on the next one.